Hello, my name is Jeffrey Grossman, and I am the owner and founder of Acupuncture MediaWorks and AcuPerfect websites. And I have a very special guest on this webinar today, Robin Green, who is been working with pediatric patients for quite some time now, and she's in the process of putting together a online training program that can help practitioners like yourself learn how to treat kids and grow a thriving pediatric practice the easy way. Robin is the founder of acupuncturepediatrics.com, and she graduated from the Five Branches University in 2003. And since then, she's been practicing acupuncture and herbal medicine. And part of the reason why she became a practitioner to help other children is because she experienced some difficulty of some severe chronic cases of eczema with her son, and it kind of stressed her out a little bit. And I'm sure she'll be able to fill you in a little bit on how she came to become masterful in treating patients and exceptional in growing her practice, pediatric patients and families in that way. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite Robin Green on the line. If you have anything you'd like to say, you can go ahead and take it away and start talking about your build a thriving pediatric practice the easy way.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Jeffrey. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited to share pediatrics with people because one, kids really need us, and two, it's a wonderful way to grow your practice, especially if you really love kids. Today, what I'd like to talk about is why it's urgent for us to start treating kids and how branching into pediatrics can actually help you grow your practice. And I'll get into some of the things that you can do to grow your practice and create lifetime patients. And I'm also going to share my top 5 strategies for pediatric practice building. And then because we're talking about pediatrics, I also wanted to give a few tips that would help make giving acupuncture to kids both easy and fun. And then I will talk a little bit about how to have a successful pediatric practice kickoff party. And with AOM week coming up here real soon, this is the perfect time to do it. And I'll give you some tips on how to make it really fun for kids.
Oh no, excellent. Yeah, I was going to say AOM week is acupuncture or oriented medicine week, and it's happening on October 20th through the 26th, and it happens every year. And it's our time as practitioners to get out there and share the knowledge and the wisdom of acupuncture in a concerted effort to um, you know, create a greater awareness in our communities and also eventually to attract patients into our own practice. So I think this is perfect timing for you to share that, how to grow your practice by treating pediatric patients and also coinciding with AOM week. I think they're just sort of the perfect storm of helping practitioners get a leg up on building more thriving, successful practices.
I agree. I know this really is the perfect time. I think fall too is another really good time to focus on kids because school's in session. I'm already seeing the first cases of like colds and flus and coughs that are starting to come about. So
Hmm.
this is a great time to bring awareness to what we can do with acupuncture to help kids through that to safely navigate illness and come to a timely resolution of illness. And after that, I'll just give you a quick sneak peek of my Pediatric Essentials online course. So I got started in pediatrics because I think you mentioned my son had a severe and chronic case of eczema. And I didn't really know much about pediatrics when I graduated. I had taken like 1 rounds and one class, but I didn't really know what to do for him. And he was about a year when that picture was taken, and our pediatrician had referred me to several specialists, and they all just kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, "Well, there's not much we can do. Here's some hydrocortisone cream, and we hope he grows out of it." And that was it. And as you can imagine, as a mom, and seeing your kids suffer every day, that just was not an acceptable solution to me at all. So that's when in 2005 I just started taking every pediatric training I could. And at the time, the Holistic Pediatrics Association just came into being, and I was lucky enough to take trainings with Randall Neustetter and Ephraim Korngold, Stephen Cowan, and a bunch of the real biggies in pediatrics.
Nice.
So yeah, in the journey of trying to heal my son, I realized I was sharing his story and the success I was having, and I realized that, working with kids was my true calling. And that's when I began to focus on building a pediatric practice. And here's my son today. He's 9, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see he's doing great. And
Excellent. Yeah, he looks like he's got over this case of eczema.
yeah, he's doing
You
great. He's like my number one, you know, fan and supporter of
I
acupuncture for
bet,
sure.
I bet. One thing about treating children is they respond so fast to our care. Isn't it amazing? I mean, don't you find that? I mean, I find that when I work on my daughter and when she has a cold, I'll just rub a couple points on her and do a little bit of cupping along her back there, and she seems to just break that cold a lot faster than our neighbors' children. And it's quite amazing to see how quickly the response is for little bodies like that.
It's so, so true. And once you get enough parents coming in that realize that, where they bring their child in while they have a cold, and you do that, you cup them, or you do gua sha, or you do acupuncture, or whatever modality, because they respond so quick. It doesn't have to be needles necessarily.
Hmm.
They're your lifelong fans. That's really helps to cultivate that trust and that awareness of what acupuncture can do.
I totally agree with you. And as you know, more women make the healthcare choices in families. It's just sort of a statistic that's just well known out there. And the fact that a mother brings a child in and they see their child get well quickly, that you're right, they do become a lifelong fan because they're one, they'll do anything for their kids, and two, they see the results right away, and that's it. You've got them, and they're going to tell their friends when their friends' children are ill. So it's just like this. It's this amazing referral network that comes out of that as well.
Absolutely. That's really key. That's a really key point. And we'll hit on that some more later in the talk, but absolutely. And that is true. And I have had parents who brought their child in, but particularly it's the moms that bring them in. And when the child's been chronically ill and you finally are the one that helps them, I tell you, that's your sales force right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, why is it urgent for us to consider treating kids in our clinics? And I really think the answer to that is, well, here it is. Kids are sicker than ever. The rates of chronic illness have more than doubled in the last 20 years. And this is coming out of a research from JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association. And 1 in 3 children have ADHD, allergies, asthma, or autism.
Hmm.
And those are all things we can treat with acupuncture. They're very treatable. So I think the number of patients that could use our services now is just the number of children is tremendous. So if you know how to treat these things, it really can expand your practice for sure. And also, we have asthma, which is skyrocketing in the United States. It's increased 75% since 1980. And that's one of the most gratifying things for me to treat it's because kids respond so quickly. So they'll come in with chest tightness and wheezing and coughing, and after even just a single treatment, they feel so much better. And that just, again, like we were talking, it just, when they start to get results, and they'll want to come in more frequently, or tell their friends. So part of what's happening is we have this new contemporary chronic childhood conditions. Some people are calling it the 4 Cs. And as you look at this list, a lot of the things on here are related to inflammation. They're inflammatory conditions. And also, a lot of these things, in my mind, are also due to spleen deficiency, spleen Chi deficiency, lung,
Hmm.
which leads to lung deficiency. And then we also have a lot of things that are related to kidney deficiency on here. And so, not only with acupuncture, but if you know how to change the diet and you know how to work with some of these things, we can safely and effectively resolve these conditions without medication, which is amazing. So more parents are looking for us. They recognize that medical treatments are inadequate and that they're just most of the time band-aiding the symptoms and they're not truly healing the root of the problem. And parents they crave that deeper healing for their child. They don't want to just give them a drug which might have potential side effects. So they're opting for alternative treatments like herbs, homeopathic remedies, dietary changes. And so what we need to do as a field is spread the word that acupuncture can help kids too. And we need to educate parents how easy it is and how fun and effective it is for kids to get acupuncture. So acupuncture, in my mind, is the solution, and parents are looking for it because it's safe, effective, natural, and drug-free. The problem is they just don't know we can help yet.
Right. I mean, that's I think one of the biggest problems with our medicine is people just look at us as practitioners who just treat pain. They don't know that we can treat things on that giant list that you just put forth a few slides earlier. And
Hmm.
you're right. I mean, it's our duty as practitioners to get out there and share every single day with our patients, with our friends, with our family members that yes, acupuncture is good for asthma and allergies and diabetes and autoimmune disorders. It's just just don't know it yet.
Hmm. And it's starting to shift. I mean, I can even see in my community when, I've been doing this now for, working with kids specifically for 8 years, and I have whole groups of families and parents and neighbors that come to see me. And so if you just take a little time every time you see a patient to give them a little nugget, a little bit of information about what you can treat, it can make a huge difference when that all adds up.
hmm And I think that's that patient education piece that you're going to be talking on later on in the webinar.
Yes, yes. I mean, the bottom line is kids need you. If you're thinking about seeing kids, if you like kids, you want to treat them, they do need you, and parents are looking for you. So I would really just hope that if you're interested, that you would do training or get whatever you need to feel confident about working with them. So how can branching into pediatrics help grow your practice? So first of all, it can expand your patient base because you can get new patients from the ones that you already have. And that's what, again, that educational piece. A lot of times when parents come in and I know that they have kids and I'll ask them how old their children are. And it's in this organic conversation that I'll have with them while, say, I'm putting the needles in or at the end while I'm taking them out. And I just let them know, oh, did you know I treat kids? And usually that opens the door because most people are a little bit fascinated with the idea of kids getting acupuncture. They have some kind of reaction and they want to know, like, really? Like, what is that like? What do you do? Like, what do you treat them for? So it kind of opens up a conversation that you can start educating them about what you can treat their kids for. And then I always ask them, I say, well, if your kids ever have anything come up, I can treat them. I can, bring them on in and I can see what I can do to help. So if you did that with every patient, you would definitely start getting referrals in, and it really could significantly grow your practice from treating kids.
And do you find that conversation um, produces parents who do bring their kids in on a regular basis?
Yes, I do. I have some that will bring them in just when they're sick. Like if their kids really are healthy, then I probably won't see them unless they're sick and then like they have a cough that didn't go away or something like that.
hmm
But like for instance, in the springtime when allergies get really bad, I always ask people about allergies, especially if the parents have allergies. Are your kids suffering? So a lot of those parents will bring their kids in, especially if they've gotten good results. And the other interesting thing is when I bring it up, even if they don't see that their children will need it right now, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, my friend, my cousin, my sister, they'll know somebody whose kids need acupuncture."
Everybody's friends, cousins, sisters, and their dog have tried acupuncture, except for the people that you're speaking to. And you know what? It's really true. Whenever anybody says, "Oh, my friend tried acupuncture," most of the time it's usually a success rate, right? It's not like, "Oh, they tried
Hmm.
acupuncture and they, got a pneumothorax or it didn't work for them." Most everyone says that, "Hey, my mother tried acupuncture and it really helped her out." So it's like there's all this great information, support for acupuncture already out there. It's just a matter of us as practitioners getting out there and really embracing that education, that educational piece in our own practices in our community.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so important. And I don't think it has to be like when you're educating your patients, I try and just do it as things go along with the flow of the treatment and the flow of where the patient's at. So it's not like I'm having them come in and do a seminar that they have to listen to if they're going to be a patient of mine. It just kind of happens a little bit at a time, and you can give them little bits, tidbits of information. And then at the end, even if they only came in to see me 6 weeks, at the end of the 6 weeks, I guarantee that every one of my patients knows that I can treat more than what they came in for. They know what I can do to help during the cold and flu season. They know that I can help their kids, and so that helps to expand.
Well, Robin, what it sounds like you have in place is sort of a system. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of practitioners are missing in their practices is sort of a systematic way to go about educating patients. And it seems that, within 6 weeks, whether or not you do it organically or you have a very structured system to do it, you're making that process to take them from just thinking acupuncture is good for elbow pain to letting them know that it's good for their family, it's good for allergies, it's good for asthma, and all of that. So I think that's an important piece is to really develop some good comprehensive systems. And I think that's probably what your training that you're going to talk about later on is all about.
Exactly, exactly. That's a big part of it because when you have the systems in place, now that I've been doing it for so long, I don't really have to think about it. But in the beginning, I had a checklist and I would make sure there was like key pieces of information I wanted to make sure I communicated to every patient. And now that happens a little more naturally for me without having to think about it. But yeah, it really was central for me from going from kind of feeling like I was struggling to really feeling like I was like having to add hours or fitting people in. And that's a really great place to go to.
Hmm.
So one of the other things pediatric patients can do, or branching into pediatrics can do, is it can increase your retention rates. And the reason for that is because if you educate your patient and they know what you can treat, you can treat them during their whole childhood from infancy all the way to their teen years because there's so many different ailments that will come up in the different age groups. And if the parents know that you're really the first stop, then that can create a lifetime patient. And I do have some patients when I first started out now, they were my very first patients. I still see them today. They were 9 and 12, and now they're off in college, and I still see them. So when they come home from college, so an educated patient knows what you can treat, and they know to come to see you first.
Hmm.
So
A-
yeah.
And also, educated patients know what to say to other people, so they know how to communicate effectively to other people, which is really important because I think one thing that every practitioner can do right now is to go ask their patients what they would say, ask their patients what their patients would say if a friend asked them what they're coming in to see you for, right?
Hmm.
People might be quite surprised as to what their answer is going to be. So I think if patients are properly educated, they have that right answer, and that right answer gets people, the friends and family members, to be like, wow, maybe I should consider acupuncture for myself. And backing up with those teens that you treated, I bet you over the years they've probably referred a lot of people to you, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's really interesting about treating kids is when they go in and they're so proud of themselves for getting acupuncture because they know it's kind of unusual and unique. They love to tell their friends that they
Mm-hmm.
did
Mm-hmm.
acupuncture. So they're very cute about it. They like to share it too. But I'll have to tell you, one of my secrets for educating my patients, and this, I did not invent this language. This actually comes from Burton Kent's book, Never Mark It Again. But he boils down acupuncture, like how it works, into like basically this very simple idea that acupuncture works by stimulating the body to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I really emphasize that, you know, definitely on the first visit and maybe again in follow-up visits, because without having to go into chi and how, meridians and all of that, you can still very simply explain how it works and they can tell that to other people. And that's what you want them to do.
I agree. And on that point, Robin, I mean, that is a huge point. I think it's really, I mean, the medicine that we practice is amazing. It's profound, it's deep, it's got history, it's got philosophy and theory. But we spent 4 years learning that knowledge and that information, and we cannot expect our patients to get that, qi, yin yang, excess deficiency, all of that. So we do have to learn how to communicate to them in a way that makes sense to that person and to that learning style itself as well. Um,
Hmm.
because we can be, if you talk to people about, yeah, you have spleen overacting on the liver. I mean, you have liver overacting on the spleen, and it's causing your digestive troubles, and it's leading to this problem and that problem. Your patients will have no idea what you're talking about, even though they might shake their head and say, "Yeah, that makes sense." They really don't know what's going on, and that's not going to lead. They're going to talk to a friend and be like, "Yeah, it says something about my spleen and my liver." That's not going to create a new patient for you, right? That's going to create confusion.
Right. Right. Yeah. So being able to sum it up in like like your booklet in a nutshell, being able to
Mm,
really break it down, make it really simple and like something that they can remember and repeat. So, and I frame that a little bit differently sometimes, but essentially it's the same way every time. Acupuncture helps your body heal itself. It's so simple. It's brilliant. So, okay. So the keys to creating lifetime patients, just to summarize, is patient education is absolutely number one, and a report of findings. And I use the report of findings form that you have, the one that's all color and pretty. I
mm-hmm.
love that thing. I love that piece of paper because it is so great for patients to be able to see how their symptoms um, will, like in, like say, spleen, stomach, and maybe heart show up as having the most number of symptoms, and then they can start to begin to see this relationship that they've had these issues with maybe sleep and their digestion, and suddenly you can connect the dots for them and explain it to them and tell them, yes, I understand why you're having this and I can help you overcome it. I can help your body heal. It's really they're so sold on the medicine after that. I mean, I don't have to sell it, it just sells itself.
Yeah, the report of findings it's something that I've been working on and with and teaching other practitioners with since 2002, and it is um, it is by far one of the best protocols that every single practice and practitioner should be putting into place in their practice because it tells your patients what's wrong, what you're doing for them, how long it's going to take, and what they can expect, and potentially costs that are involved. But you really need to report what you're finding for them in a way that's kind of lays out in a very superficial and generic way as to what's going on, to them. And I imagine you probably do your report of findings to the parents and the children, correct?
I do. I bring them both in, and like you say, it gives me a time. Like I like to set aside that time to make sure that they understand why I'm making my recommendations, what I expect will happen over the course of treatment, especially when I'm working with a really very chronically ill child, say a child who's been hospitalized a number of times, and has been very sick. It's not going to be a fast process like it is for a cough that just came on a week ago. So I think it's really important to sit down and lay it out to them so that they can see that, yes, it might take 6 months for this healing to occur, but this is what I expect to happen along the way. And when they see, there's also the accompanying treatment plan form that I use that you designed that allows me to sort of disclose everything. This is how what my recommendations are and the number of treatments I think you'll need, so that they can see what the costs are as well. So it's not nobody's blindsided or anything like that. And then the other thing I do is like after a first treatment, I always follow up. I always check in and see how they did. Gives them, it's just such a nice personal touch to follow up because not many doctors are going to follow up after you go in for a physical or anything like that. So a follow-up call or even an email. If I'm really busy, I might just send them a quick email and just say, I just wanted to check in and see how you did after your treatment. Do you have any questions? And I get a lot of really great feedback from doing that. And the last thing I do is I really try and provide a lot of value for my patients. And I've experimented with this in different ways, but primarily it's just my time. So for especially when I'm working with kids, I will have moms come in and they just want 5 minutes of my time to run something by me, or they send me an email and they want to ask if what the doctor says, what I think of it. And so it just gives me a chance to provide extra value for them, and I don't charge them for it. I do set limits, so it's not something I'm, you know, spending too much time, but just little bits of my time here and there to provide them with reassurance and creative ideas, solutions, and things like that. Um, and my newsletter and things, I try and provide a lot of value in that, so that patients really feel like they're connected to me and they're connected to my clinic, and that also helps to create a lifetime patient.
And it's true, and I think lifetime patients are something that many practitioners don't really think about. They just think about treating for, X amount of visits as opposed to laying down the structure to build lifetime patients through patient education. And I've had many, many, many patients in my practice who I have seen for multiple, multiple years on regular basis, who we've gotten through the initial series of problems, and then just started getting them into more of a tune-up routine. And it works. It's just a matter of communicating to them effectively.
Exactly. I mean, I see it as a good sign, like when patients and like we finish the treatment cycle and they're doing great. When my patients are like, so when do I come back to you? Like, how does this work? Like, they don't want to leave. They want
Hmm.
to continue and maintain what they've achieved. So, it's nice to also have like programs that you can, like maintenance programs that you can just put them into. And I have like a monthly wellness club where patients can just come in once a month, and it's a club, so they get charged once a month, and then if say they miss that month, it just goes onto their account. But those patients are very loyal, and they come in once a month, and it's great for them and for me.
I think that's a whole other webinar you could probably put on at some point too. I think a lot of practitioners, especially now with what's going on with the Affordable Care Act, um, a lot of practitioners are getting really freaked out around what it means or doesn't mean for them with insurance. So coming up with a particular monthly, um, sort of membership for patients, I think is an excellent way to go. And I mean, there are things that we've put into place in in our practice in the past that sort of captured that information. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation for something else.
Okay. So here, let's talk about a few strategies for building a pediatric practice. So the first thing I always say is make your office kid friendly. I feel like I've achieved a level of balance between kid friendly and relaxing. So in my office, when you walk in, there's books and magazines in the waiting area for kids. I learned the hard way that you don't want to put noisy toys in the waiting room. It's actually more stressful for the parents that are in the waiting room with their kids. So I just put magazines there. In each room, I do have toys, Legos, Lincoln Logs, things like that for the kids to play with. And you want to make it really obvious that kids are welcome. I have my toys out so parents can see them. They're like in cute little baskets and stuff. But when parents see toys, they think, huh, like that's actually struck up a conversation with new patients. Like, oh, do you see kids? So I think it's a good thing to make your office obvious that you're kid friendly. And then I do see a lot of moms as well, so I will tell them it's okay if they need to bring their child for their treatment, and that again just reaffirms that we're a kid friendly office. And then, like we were talking before, you want to tell your patients that you see kids when you're asking about their family. Again, like this organic conversation that you just sort of just drop in that you see kids and you let them know what you can do to help them. And I think this is critical though. You have to sort of invite them to bring their kids in. It's the same thing as like asking for referrals, and it doesn't have to be in a used car salesy type of way. It's just simply an invitation, like truly from my heart. Like if a child was suffering and I could help, I would want to help them. So that's the place that it comes from when I invite them to bring their kids in. And then make sure that you're putting it in your patient newsletter. I hope that those listening out there have a newsletter that they're doing on a regular basis. And then what I would suggest is putting in like a little corner or a little heading that is just for kids, so you can address whatever things are coming up. And right now Halloween is coming up, so in my newsletter I'll be giving some ideas for healthy Halloween tips. And that just seeing that message over again can help bring more awareness to the fact that you are beginning to see kids in your practice. And then you want to make it obvious in your marketing that you see kids. So definitely you want to have brochures. I have different brochure areas in my office, and I will switch them out periodically just so people can see different things. But I always have the kids right up front. Um, and then on your website, if you are seeing kids, you want to make sure you have a special page on your website that's just focused on the pediatric treatments, because they are different than adult treatments. And you want to explain what the treatments are like, what kind of conditions you treat, um, and give the parents a lot more details about what acupuncture is like for kids. But if childhood illnesses is just kind of in a long list of things you treat, somewhere sandwiched in between pain and headaches, it's not going to make it really obvious that you see kids. And then the other thing I would suggest is that you add it to your business card. And I did this, I think it was in 2007. I actually decided, okay, I'm going to put it in my business card. And that's been very interesting too, because as I meet people and I hand out my business card, like I was at a workshop last weekend and I gave somebody my business card and I hadn't even said what I did yet. And they right away saw pediatric acupuncturist and were like, oh my gosh, you see kids? And they wanted to know more. So adding it to your business card is a great idea. And then definitely avoid what I think is the number one mistake in seeing kids is being afraid to start or feeling like you aren't ready to start. Even if you're still training and learning how to treat kids, I would definitely start promoting it now, because it's not like your door's going to, kids are going to be beating down your door right away. It takes some time for the word of mouth to grow and to get that interest and have people bringing their kids in. And another note about that too is that when I started out, I didn't feel confident treating kids in the very beginning, but just my experience with my son just pushed me, because I felt like, sometimes our mistakes that we make, or the failures at the time, are the things that help us learn the most. So it's really important just to just do it, because the more kids you see, the better you're going to get at treating them. And when you get results, that's all you need, because word will spread. And then, like we were talking about before, I call it my mommy sales force. And I have a couple of moms in my practice that have sent me 6 or more patients. And some of them have sent me upwards of a dozen patients, and
Wow.
which is really amazing. But when you get results and you've helped a child, the moms will become your raving fans. They will tell
Mm-hmm.
everybody. They really will. And especially if it's a problem like, I've had kids that, like I was saying, for asthma, that were hospitalized, that were on 6+ medications, antibiotics every other week. It was really bad. And when you turn that around, and this child, the parents notice, like, oh, Johnny's been at school. He hasn't missed a day in months. What are you doing? And I tell you, they will tell you their fellow parents all about it. And like I was saying, also, don't forget to ask for referrals. And my trick to this, when I'm asking for specifically asking for referrals, is I wait until the patients have success. So when Johnny has over his serious asthma, he's doing great, mom's happy, Johnny's happy. I will say to them, like, I am so glad Johnny's doing great. It's great to see him so healthy and he hasn't been sick. And I just want to let you know, if you know anybody else whose kids have asthma or something similar to what he's going through, just give them my card. I would love to help them too. And it took me a while to get used to doing this. It was like uncomfortable in the beginning to ask, but the more I did it, the more I realized that just simply asking brought their awareness that they could share this, and I would maybe give them my business card or brochure if it had somebody in mind. And it really made a huge difference in increasing my new patients each month. Like I would get one or two additional new patients. It's more now, but in the beginning, I would that one or two additional new patients a month was huge. And like I was saying, if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, my friend's son needs to come in for his allergies," and I'm like, "Oh, that would be great. Here's a card. Here's a brochure on acupuncture for kids." I always give out acupuncture in a nutshell for new patients because I just think it's so great at explaining it, and it really does work, and they're more likely to come in.
That is one of the biggest sellers that we have out there. It just explains acupuncture in a nutshell, and we've done our best to pare it down to the simplest form to explain how the medicine works. And it's been successful with that little booklet for sure.
Yeah, and the analogies in there and like the hose and the all that, it's so great at communicating these complex ideas in a very simple and easy to understand way.
Hmm.
So the summary for our practice building tips: you want to make your office friendly, tell everyone that you can that you treat kids, make it really obvious in your market, don't be afraid to put it on your business card, and just start promoting it. And then once you start to see kids, utilize your mommy sales force.
And that's easy. I mean, like you said, I mean, like once the mommies are on board and they see the change, like there really is no stopping them because when their friends' children are have something going on, you will be the first name that comes to their mind if you've been showing success to their own family. I mean, look, I mean, pe parents love their children, right? I mean, there's just the love that you have for your child is profound, and when you can help that child become successful and healthier, there's no ending to what kind of sharing people will do for you.
It's
So
so true.
yeah, that mommy sales force is, and it's free, right? You're getting
Right,
you're getting
right.
paid for it because they're coming to pay you.
It's so great. Yeah. So, okay, we were talking about AOM week coming up, October 20th, and one of the big things that you can do for that, if you really want to start seeing kids, is have a kid-friendly kickoff party. And the first one that I ever did was back in 2008. I decided to do this, and this was really huge at sort of announcing to the world that I was a pediatric specialist. And I called it, I've trademarked the name that Kids Love Acupuncture, and I turned it into a party. I turned it into a blog, and it was really the key to my success in growing really quickly. So what I did is I think I've at this point I have two boys now, and I have done a number of kid birthday parties. And so I approached this party the same way I did with my kids' birthday parties. And most of the kids that were coming have various food allergies, food sensitivities, sensory issues, all kinds of things. So I really kept all that in mind when I planned the party. And I had kiddie entertainment. I had face painting and balloons, and I had invited, there's a chef in my town that she does gluten-free and allergy-free foods, and so she brought in a bunch of cupcakes and fruit and things that were very safe for kids to eat. And then while the kids were kind of going around and talking and chatting and getting their face painting done, I didn't necessarily give away free treatments, but we did this whole try a tap thing. It was such a fun thing to do because whole families came to this event, and maybe only one of the children actually had acupuncture. And so they would come in and I would say, well, let's show your brothers and sisters how this works. And so they would be so proud to get on the table, and I would do what I call acupuncture taps in my practice. So they would do a tap and they would say, see, that didn't hurt. And then the other brother, or the older brother, or the younger sister, they would try it and then they would say, oh my gosh, that didn't hurt at all. And it's sort of like the energy around it was so positive, and the kids were urging each other on to give it a try. And if they didn't want to try it, that was okay. I showed them my other non-needle tools. But it was such a great way to share how easy it was and that it didn't hurt. And for the kids who tried it, I did give them a special prize. I had little finger flashlights that I gave out that they loved. And then everybody, I would give them a special offer for coming in. And I think at the time I did give them like a discount for coming in. But since then, I've decided a lot of times I just want to give them extra value. So I would maybe say, I'll give them, the parents, a private pediatric tuina lesson or something to add value rather than lowering my fees. And it's a great way to encourage parents to bring their kids in and to bring awareness to how easy acupuncture is.
Yeah, it's like it's something that I've talked about in the past. It's like a patient appreciation day,
Hmm.
but it seems like you're just your focus is not it's for your child patients, as
Yes.
opposed to the general. You're not really advertising it to your entire patient list, just your pediatric patients.
Yes, and I actually did advertise it to my entire list because I even had a few grandmas bring their grandkids in.
Yeah,
And
of course
so
that's true.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, and so you could even really combine the two. I mean, you could really have this party as part of a larger open house and combine it with adults and parents. Like you could really do so many things with this idea, but just by making it kid friendly, you can incorporate the kids being even more welcome than just coming to an open house. When there's maybe like in my next party, I'm planning to actually have uh, like a puppet show or bring in some kind of entertainment for the kids to make it really exciting and also to thank them for coming in the same way like a patient appreciation day. It's just obviously tailored towards kids who might be excited about puppets or
Sure. And
parrots or whatever.
yeah, yeah. Another thing you can even add maybe donations to a charity,
Yes,
a
that's a
kid-friendly
great
charity.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is the time, right? Thanksgiving is coming up next after Halloween, and so you could even kick off like a food drive or something like that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about making acupuncture easy for kids. I'm going to share my top tips for what I do to make acupuncture really easy for kids. But before I share them with you, one thing I want to talk about a little bit is when I'm seeing kids, it's easier for me to do this now. It's really your energy. You have to really be confident and open to them and feeling like if you're not feeling it, kids pick up on that energy so quickly. So you really just want to be in a very like loving space and know that you truly are not going to hurt them. Like it really is easy for them to do this. And if that's the energy you come into the treatment with, then everything else will flow really easily for you most of the time. My number one tip with kids is to build trust. I don't believe in tricking kids. I don't believe in like, oh, look at that shiny object. Oops, oh, look, I just, acupuncture needled you. It's really important, I think, to communicate with children. The picture here is me showing this little boy. I show them the taps. I explain what they are. I let them look at them. I will show them how I do a tap on the massage table. And when they know what's coming and they know for sure that I'm not going to trick them and I'm not going to do anything to them without their permission, they can relax. And when they relax, then acupuncture is really easy. So that's my first tip. The next thing is to be really flexible with kids because a pediatric treatment is not going to go A to B in the same way an adult treatment goes. You know exactly what we're going to do and how it flows with an adult treatment. But with the pediatric treatment, it really just depends on the child, their nature, what kind of day they're having, where they are in their nap cycle. All those things can affect it. So, like in this picture here, I'm using a microcurrent device called Pointer Plus. He's sitting in his mom's lap, and for him, most treatments, he sits in his mom's lap. He doesn't want to be up on the treatment table. Sometimes I will get on the floor and treat them, like we'll get out the toys and they're building some Lego tower while I'm doing the treatment on them, and I just need them to hold still for a few seconds at a time for me to do the treatment. So just going with the flow of your patient, it will make the treatment go much easier because you don't have specific expectations going in. And then you want to use the right tools. So I use really small needles. I use the Serin J14. It's actually, the blue is the green is a 44 gauge, and the blue is actually a 46 gauge needle that Serum just came out with. Those are super, super tiny. So honestly, you really can't feel these needles going in. It's more, when kids are afraid of needles, it's just a preconception that they have maybe from having shots or a blood draw where a needle really hurt, which is why in my practice I call them taps, because being tapped doesn't sound scary at all. And then before I actually insert the needle, what I'm doing here is I pinch up the skin just, firmly, but not trying to hurt them or anything. And then I'm taking my middle finger and I just tap it and I rub and I do some acupressure on the point first. And then I put the tube on and I tap it in really fast. And most kids don't feel it at all. Or if they do, then it's usually for a second, and I'll just say to them, "Oh, is it okay now?" And they're like, yeah, it's okay." And it's usually fine. And then I always have non-needle treatment options available. So if we start the treatment and after one or two needles they're done, they don't want any more, or they really don't want needles at all, then I will use pediatric tuina, I'll use laser, or I'll use, here I'm showing the Pointer Plus again. None of those modalities hurt, and so I just roll right into it. And once they know, okay, I have options, I don't have to do taps if I don't want to, then it's usually fine. So you just want to make sure when you're working with kids that you focus on building trust, because even if today a child doesn't want needles, in a year, in 6 months, in 3 months, they may be ready to try it then. And if you've built trust with them, then at some point they will let you needle them. I haven't had a child yet that hasn't eventually tried an acupuncture needle. Being flexible, just going with the flow of the child, and then using the tiny J14, J15 needles and prepping the points before insertion will make it much easier. And then use non-needle treatments when you need to.
Great. That's some simple tips. I think a lot of practitioners who want to work with kids and don't normally do, I think it is just hard for them to start. And I think, like what you were saying, just start is the right way to do it. Just tell your patients right off the bat that, that you that you're starting to treat students. I mean kids. Um, One of the things that I think that I'd like for you to share a little more about is this online training course that you have to help practitioners build a greater confidence in themselves and know-how and knowledge on how to grow a thriving pediatric practice the easy way.
Yes, well, I have coming up, it's called a Pediatric Essentials online course, where I'm going to go much more in depth on how to work with kids, how to work with parents, red flags, and all of that kind of stuff. My goal for the class is to really provide a lot of value and give practitioners step-by-step guidance on how to treat kids. I've figured out a way to make it easy, and it's really amazing to watch kids come in now that I really have got it down. And I will share with you the secrets that have made it so easy for me to work with kids. And I really focus on practical tips that you can use right away in your practice. And then kids aren't little adults, so we need to focus on how to treat the most common conditions that they have. And then it wasn't just enough for me to teach people how to treat kids. I really wanted to give some time and space dedicated to talk about growing a thriving family practice and how to use some of the tips I've talked about earlier today, kind of go more in depth on how you can educate your patients and grow a thriving family practice. So in the class, like I said, I'm going to cover how to work with kids, how to deliver and manage treatment, how to work with parents. And so far, when people register for the class, I ask them, what's your number one fear about working with kids, and what's your number one question? And a lot of the questions coming up are surrounding, how do I interact with the parents? So that's a lot of what I'll cover in the very first module. And then if we're going to see kids, we need to know the red flags, like when we need to refer to an MD, and when, by doing, say, a physical exam, we don't need to refer to an MD and we could treat it on our own. So we'll talk about that in the class. One of the core things I focus on in pediatrics is nutrition. So we're going to spend a good long time on nutrition and talk about what kids should be eating, what they should be avoiding. And then, of course, we're going to cover the most common acute and chronic illnesses that kids come in for acupuncture for. I had to decide, there's so many things that we treat kids for, but I tried to get the most popular things that I see kids for in this course. But there's once you know how to treat these things, it does give you a basis for treating other conditions as well. And then we'll talk about formulas, supplements, and how to get kids to take them. Because if you could have the most amazing formula, but if you can't get the kid to take it, then obviously it's not going to help them. And then I'll also go over Western perspectives for these illnesses so that you know what will happen with the doctor if the child goes to the doctor, kind of what to expect, what kind of medications they might be on or be recommended to take, so that you can incorporate that into your healing program and work with doctors. And like I said, practice building. I really, really want to show you my secrets to growing a thriving family practice and help you expand your patient base and increase your retention rates, because I think it's possible for every practitioner to expand their practice about 30% just by seeing kids. And then I'll also talk about treatment plans that your patients will stick to. And I covered a little bit of that in this seminar just with the report of findings and the treatment plans, but we'll go in depth on that as well. And I've designed it in a modular format because I don't know about you, Jeffrey, but when I'm taking a class, especially over 2 days, 8 hours a day, like there's a certain point where my brain just like, I can't take in any more information. And I know people are busy and they can't necessarily fly across the country. So I wanted to set it up so if they just did a few hours each week, then they could do this and finish this course in 6 weeks without having information overload.
Yeah, I think it's important to have one thing that I like about online training is the modular format for it to be broken up over shorter, sweeter, more digestible pieces that people can run in their own time frame. So I think breaking each module down for about 2 hours is probably perfect.
Yeah, just a little bit of time every day or just 2 hours once a week, and we can all carve out that kind of time. And that way, I really think you have a chance to digest it. And if you see a kid next week, you see a few children, you can start to think about applying some of those things before you move on to the next topic. And then, so the course, it is approved for 15 PDAs and 15 California CEUs. And like right now, I'm setting up the online classroom where we'll have PowerPoint presentations similar to this, and I've got lots and lots of photographs to show you some of the things that we'll be talking about. The class, the registration ends October 28th, and that's when the first class, the first module will be available, is October 28th. So you have until then to register.
So that's when the class goes live and on the 28th of October.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
That's
And
right.
yeah, the fact that you've got 15 PDAs and CEUs, that's huge because people could take this training from the comfort of their living room and get 15 continuing education units. That's fantastic.
Yes, yes. It's like 15 PDAs, and you'll know how to treat kids, and you can expand your practice like it's, Yay.
Right. I
It's a
mean,
win-win.
it's a win-win. You're getting your continuing education units, and you're getting, to learn specific ways to grow your practice. I mean, it's awesome.
So, when you sign up, if you sign up for the class, I will send you out you'll initially get immediate access to my pediatric initial intake form. I've already figured it out. I've gotten it up, so I figured that way you guys don't have to reinvent the wheel. You'll have it right there, so you know you'll give something special to your pediatric patients. And um, just ignore that last line. That is not, that was passed. So if you have questions about the class, you can feel free to book a 15-minute introductory consultation with me, and we can discuss the training. I can answer your questions. I really want to make sure that whoever takes this class, that it's the right fit for you. It's really what you're looking for, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And you can sign up for that at acupuncture.zenbilling.com and just sign up for that introductory consultation. And once you sign up, I'll email you instructions on how to book your session. And I've done a number of these, and it's been really fun talking to everybody. I love hearing where people are starting from and what they want to know, because it's really helping me design a class that will be really it's really for you guys. It's for the people who want to know how to treat kids. So I want to make sure I answer your questions.
Great. Well, oh, you have any more information?
Well, so they can go to my website at acupuncturepediatrics.com for more information. And I also have my blog, kidsloveacupuncture.com. And again, for that free 15-minute introductory consultation, they can go to acupuncture.zenbilling.com.
And that 15-minute introductory consultation is for them to ask you any questions that they might have about the training itself to kind of get a little more clarity around that.
Exactly,
Great.
exactly.
Well, fantastic, Robin. I think that what you've put forth in the training itself is enough to give some people some fuel to get out there and start generating potential pediatric patients. But after seeing what you are putting in your course with all your modules and all the information you have in there, I think it's a huge win for what you've put together for the community. And I know, speaking from my own experience of putting together my own trainings, I know what it's like from our perspective of building these things, of how much
Hmm.
time and energy goes into making them a reality for the end users, which are the practitioners. So I really appreciate the fact that you're putting this information together for other practitioners so we as a whole community can spread the word that acupuncture is awesome, because I, for one, firmly believe that acupuncture is an amazing medicine, as I'm hearing that you do for, considering what you do for the community and families.
Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey. I agree so much, and I really hope that by helping more practitioners work with kids, we can be the solution for the growing epidemic of chronic childhood illness. And that's truly my mission. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want more people seeing kids. I want to help heal more kids, because that's going to change their whole life. And so that's just a really powerful thing to be a part of.
Great. Well, thanks, Robin, for taking the time out of your busy day to put this webinar on for us. And thank you for everybody who's watched the webinar. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day for watching it. And Robin has put together an amazing training, so I would encourage you to take advantage of it if it feels like it's something that you might want to start working with pediatric patients. So thank you all for watching.